Today we are flying on David Neeleman's newest project in the US, Breeze Airways, to see if it really is, as they claim, quote-unquote, the world's nicest airline. So welcome to Las Vegas, where we'll be flying out of for this nearly transcontinental flight. I'm in an Uber heading to Harry Reid International Airport on a beautiful morning. Has there ever been anything more American than this sign? We are going to get dropped off at Terminal 3, which opened in 2012, but we'll end up departing from the quasi-separate terminal, which is the D gates. Before we get into the Breeze story and one of the better lounges on this trip, let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best and some of the not so best airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. This easy breezy, perhaps beautiful flight begins now. Checking in for my flight was a breeze. I think the branding is growing on me. Breeze is a semi-hybrid airline, which I guess is a hybrid airline, and so nearly all fares, except the most restrictive, include a carry-on and a personal item. If you have a checked bag, that will be a charge which you can pay to the, wait for it, the Guest Empowerment Team. Could we have thought of a worse name? Before I get into the who, what, where, when, and why about Breeze, can I just exist in shock for a moment about this airport? So, yes, I fully understand that Las Vegas is a mega attraction. I get it. But it still blows my mind that Las Vegas is the 5th busiest airport on Earth by aircraft movements. Las Vegas has around 50% more takeoffs and landings on any given day than the likes of Tokyo Haneda, Frankfurt, Miami, and countless others. By passengers per year, they're the 24th busiest airport. The reason for this discrepancy is because there are hardly any wide-body aircraft that serve the airport, maybe a dozen or so on any given day. So their 58 million passengers are all arriving on hundreds of thousands of narrow-body flights per year. So back to Breeze and that guy that I mentioned that you might know nothing about, David Neeleman. He was the founder of Morris Air, then WestJet in Canada, then JetBlue in the US, and then Azul in Brazil. It would seem his favorite color is also blue. Breeze was conceived of in 2018 by Neeleman and at first was meant to be called Moxie Airlines, but was later changed due to conflict with Marriott's Moxie hotel chain. The airline does retain the Moxie call sign though, and the MX code. His thought process at the time was, there are 11 major airlines in the US, they are all profitable, and they've all existed for more than 20 years besides JetBlue. But in the past decade, US domestic air capacity had been completely stagnant, despite the economy expanding by 34% in that same period, mostly due to secondary and tertiary cities losing regular service. As we talk about Breeze, we can have a walk through the pretty impressive Amex Centurion Lounge here in the D concourse. I'll be honest, it's rare, very rare, that I think a Centurion Lounge is actually worth the hype. They're generally so insanely busy, and in my experience, they love to have really uncomfortable furniture. But not today. This one was pretty impressive. Enter a Breeze of fresh air. A point-to-point airline with bases and routes that simply don't have as much competition, relatively speaking, as the major hubs. Their biggest hubs at the moment are in Charleston, South Carolina, Fort Myers, and Hartford, Connecticut, where we're going today, as well as Providence. Their first flight was in 2021 from Tampa to Charleston. The hybrid idea came from a desire to create a lower-cost airline which had the potential to actually be comfortable to fly on. Our flight ended up being delayed by nearly 2 hours, 45 minutes of which I knew about before leaving the hotel. The rest we were kept in the dark about at the gate, and the gate agents genuinely didn't seem to understand what was going on. It was like they were being kept in the dark. More on that later. Eventually, boarding was called and we lined up for our 1-year-old A220-300, which they have 35 of at the moment with 55 more on order. Their classes of service, if you want to call it that, are nice, nicer, and nicest. Nicest is a hybrid domestic first product. Think much better seats along with included low-cost carrier food. Then we have the nicer seats, which are standard economy seats but with extra legroom. And finally, nice, which is just basic economy. All of this is in one non-divided cabin. The concept, if the price is right, I love. For flights long and short, if you completely unbundle the fares, the first thing that I would choose to actually pay for would be more space, which is why I love the concept of Zip Air so much. The seats are comfortable, and I lucked out with the seat next to me unoccupied, one of only 2 on this flight. The seats look more premium than they actually are in reality. They have nice adjustable headrests and smart finishes, but they're very much a standard low-cost slimline seat. Legroom is good at around 33 inches. Standard economy gets 30. Interestingly enough, when the airline first started, they had 2 versions of the A220. The other being outfitted with a staggering 10 rows of the nicest first-class seats, and just 2 rows of nicer seats. I think Delta would even see that as overkill, and they finally came to their senses with this new mix of 3 rows of nicest, 9 rows of nicer, and the rest nice. If they haven't all been converted already, I believe the intention is to do so. As far as in-flight filming goes, this was one of the more beautiful flights that I've ever taken, so be sure you stick around to see a whole bunch of different landscapes. I honored and concluded my snack box series and bought one of their only snack boxes. It was decent, but I swear after this trip, packaged olives and cheese spreads were on my crap list for a few months. Let me tell you a quick story. I had a small fraudulent charge on one of my credit cards from a merchant that looked like it was trying to imitate Breeze Airways. It showed up as something like BRZ AIR. I immediately called my bank, canceled the card, and reported the fraud. Some weeks later, I got a letter from my bank saying that they were reposting the charge because they had, quote, reason to believe that it wasn't fraudulent. Okay. It took me an hour after that to realize that it was in fact the charge from the purchase on this flight. Why did I think it was fraudulent? Because it was posted 93 days after the flight. That's insane. Like, do they not want their money? Do they not understand how interest works? Anyway, if you fly Breeze, be prepared. Bathrooms on board were very basic but kept clean during the flight. Besides watching the crew prepare for the buy on board service, entertainment on board was in the form of streaming content to your device. There was a decent selection of movies and a moving map, but Breeze's insistence on you logging in for every single little thing gets a bit annoying. When you buy the ticket, creating an account is required. Let's enjoy some of those views as I explain the quirks about the crew. The service was very okay. There were definitely a lot of indicators that all of our crew, including the in-flight leader, were very, very, very new. Things were unorganized. No real sense of customer service, the whole -9 yards. Perhaps understandable since Breeze didn't attempt to recruit from any other airlines. Frankly, Breeze's recruiting methods at first were pure wackadoodleness. I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to speculate as to why, but their original plans were to only hire what they considered part-time crew without university degrees from the age of 18. All crew would work 70 flight hours per month spread over 15 days. They would be provided shared corporate housing, and they would be required to enroll in an online degree program with Utah Valley University. For all of this, they would be rewarded with a whopping $1,200 a month, plus $6,000 per year for university fees. But those fees are reimbursed, as in they needed to pay out of pocket for the university fees up front. These policies were called out for not only being discriminatory based on age, but also predatory given the fact that this was going on at the same time that many from the airline industry were out of work due to COVID layoffs. Breeze blinked finally and added full-time positions without all of those requirements for those aged 20 and over, but continued to offer and stand behind their other part-time scheme. I can understand wanting to run a company that does good things, that helps educate its staff, but I would also argue that perhaps an airline is the wrong business to be in if that is your goal. Soon enough, we approached New York, passing over 3 of the Great Lakes and then all of the Finger Lakes before starting our descent into Hartford. Questionable hiring practices aside, my impression of the airline overall is fairly positive. There are many touch points that need to be worked on, but it's clear that the comfort to price ratio is going to be a good one. One that has already led them to turning a profit within those 3 short years. As far as low-cost airlines go, I think they have the potential to be in the 7 to 8 range, but between the unexplained delays and crap service, I think we can settle for a 5 on this one. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps the video with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon where I post the most and can help you out with any travel related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. A beautiful green approach over Connecticut is coming up. So, about that delay. After we landed, the captain came on the PA and asked us to congratulate the first officer. Congratulate him for what, you ask? For his first ever landing. Yeah, see, now there are some things that you should just keep to yourself, but that's just me. Maybe we had a nerves-related delay. Who knows? So I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe for 2 new videos a week. I'll see you next time for my first video from Langkawi, at one of my new all-time favorite resorts, the Ritz Carlton. As always, thanks for watching until the end.